we need to go away from the concept of good vintage and bad vintage. This concept really sucks. We do vintage every single year, which is not very usual in Champagne. Yeah. Most of the big houses anyway explain that they produce vintage wine just in very good years. I disagree. I think the definition of a vintage wine is a wine that is like a snapshot of the year. Is a wine that reflects the spirit of that specific year. And I think we need to go away from the concept of good vintage and bad vintage. This concept really sucks. We need to understand that every vintage is different, but every single vintage has a story to tell. And the story is related to the climate, to the condition, to the level of crop, to many facts. And this is my job as a winemaker to understand that story, to do a nice selection in the winery of what's the best expression of the vintage, and then bottle it, and then explain it to you guys. And you guys, as champagne lovers, you have to accept that when you taste a vintage wine, it is different from one year to another. But that's the deal about it, expressing just one single year. And we do quite a lot of vintage wine here that usually we try to age slightly longer, but that's something that is specific to us too.
We've accepted it for every other region of France. I don't see why we couldn't accept it for Champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely.